Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video, I'm going to give you guys all my juicy day 1 Scourge discoveries. So it's fair to say I've been focusing almost exclusively on the Scourge mechanic, pretty much just doing it, hanging out in white maps. I'm in reds now, but just smashing some Scourge, trying to figure it out and trying to understand how useful it's going to be. So here's all my discoveries, enjoy. Okay, so in order to understand this video, you're going to have to have played with the Scourge mechanic a little bit, and you're going to have a basic understanding of what's going on. Okay, so when you're in the map, of course, your blood gauge fills up. You can see here, mine's filling up quite quickly. I've killed a decent amount of monsters now, but the first thing to note is that rares and magic monsters contribute significantly more to the blood gauge than any other monster type. If you kill like a rare pack, bam, it almost completely fills the blood gauge. So it's really important to juice your maps, and juicing your maps will allow you to move into the Scourge dimension way more. Like, it's like basically like so much so that you can move in way too much. Like, it's like actually ridiculous how much you shift in. It's completely crazy. Okay, so that's the first thing to note here. All monsters are not created the same. More juice means shifting more, just straight up. Now, not all monsters give juice. For example, Blight doesn't seem to give any monster juice with the exception of the rares, but everything else does. So Simulacrum monsters, Delirium monsters, Beyond monsters, everything else. It all seems to work. It all seems to give you the juice. And then, of course, once you shift in, oh man, that monster's pretty toxic. Once you shift in, it starts going down very quickly. I don't know exactly how much time you get. I think it's about 10 to 5 seconds in the Scourge dimension, but it's not long. You want to be slaying as many monsters as possible. But you'll notice here, when I do shift in from the original realm, let me see if I can get a shot of it. So you can see my map overlay here, right? You can see it, it's coming, it's normal, and then when I shift in, which is going to be in a second here, bam, right here, bam. So I now have a new map overlay, okay? So this is basically at the core of the Scourge mechanic. The Scourge mechanic is essentially a second map overlaid on top of your first map. And it has all of the same modifiers, it has pretty much all of the same monsters, but then on top of that, it also has additional Scourge packs in it. So if your normal map has like 1,000 monsters in it, the Scourge one might have like 1,400 Scourge monsters in it, which is pretty interesting. My bad, sorry. Another interesting point is when you're doing your Scourged maps, your Scourge infused or baked maps, it says when you kill a rare Scourge monster, any monster in the Scourge dimension counts as rare. I'm not 100% sure on Delirium and Beyond yet. I'm going to experiment with that soon. But when you're slaying like a Fire Golem, which is rare and it's in the Scourge dimension, it's going to drop the rare Scourge rewards. So that's a very important note there. So you can see my gauge, and you can see this alternate reality here. Okay, so the way you need to picture it is Scourge basically takes your map and it clones it. You get 2 versions of your map. It's like bzz, times 2. So basically already the Scourge mechanic is doubling the monster density in maps, assuming that you can full clear the map. Now, we were under the impression that Scourge monsters would respawn every time you went into the dimension. Now, this would create gameplay in which it wouldn't matter how you cleared the map. You could just run around, there'd always be monsters to slay, and there'd always be loot to collect. This is not the case. When the map spawns in and it creates the 2 maps, there is a set amount of monsters in both of them, and you need to full clear the Scourge dimension just like it's a normal map, because if you backtrack to somewhere you've already cleared in the Scourge dimension and revealed, there's not going to be any monsters there. So you need to kind of make sure that you're always moving forward, you're always clearing the map correctly, and it's basically going to be a clear speed league. And if you're not like clearing maps efficiently and correctly, you're going to lose so much juice from Scourge, and we'll get to this later, but it's very important that you clear the map very well, and that you want to have a character that can actually clear the map in all of the gauges that you have. So what I'm talking about is, let's say that I full clear this dunes. You also want to be able to full clear the Scourge dimension dunes as well for maximum loot, as well as maximum Val Souls or whatever it's called to bake. So that's really important. Now, they weren't entirely lying when they said that the Scourge monsters respawn. As soon as you shift into the Scourge dimension, it's going to consume a portion of your bar, and that portion of that bar is basically how they balance the following mechanic. So when you shift in, it's going to spawn a ton of monsters around you, and they're all going to be stunned. So you're going to slay all those, but those spawn around you even if you've already been in an area where you've slain all the monsters. Okay, so those are basically always going to be a pack in there. I'm not sure if it has a rare in it, so I don't know if the applications are super relevant, but that is definitely there as well. So just to give you guys a recap, we're going to have two maps. I need to full clear both of them. Clear speed's very important, and density gives you more entries into the Scourge dimension, meaning you can full clear it easier and have a much easier time of it. Okay, now we need to jump in game here to really take a look at the nitty gritty here. Okay, so why is the Scourge dimension so rewarding and why is it so good? Okay, so as I mentioned, obviously Scourge duplicates your map. Now, this doesn't stop at just adding the normal monsters in. No. This actually also duplicates stuff like the Delirium monster spawns. So you know all of the monsters that come up out of the ground and all of the fungus and stuff like that? That also gets duplicated in the other dimension. And all the Scourge monsters and the Delirium monsters, right now at least on day one, count for the Delirium tile, which is completely crazy. So you can get a ton of Delirium juice, and it's pretty absurd. So it's pretty nice. So Delirium basically just got double in value at the time of this video. Just double Delirium value. Very, very good. Okay, so you get double density and double Delirium. Now, of course, I mentioned that the Beyond also spawns in that, so that's also going to further contribute to Delirium. So more juice for the deli juices. Great. Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about here is the Scourge gauge kind of debuff. So you can see here, it's a little bit different than what we understood. So it does say that Scourge monsters deal 1% more damage to you with hits. That's very true. It starts hitting very hard. But it also has another line here. You have 1% quantity of items found and 1% rarity of items found. And then also 0.5% more corruption absorbed by items in your Crucible per stack. So you can see here I have 154% more quantity and more rarity. More is the operative word here. It's literally straight up a more multiplier. So if you're magic finding, if you're in a group, if you're doing anything like that, it's just more straight up. And like, let's say you have the Cartographer Scarab, which is also a more multiplier. They stack together. It's not additive. So it's completely crazy. And Scourge monsters, yes, they can drop maps. So this buff is what it's all about. So the actual gameplay of Scourge is really going to be how long you can stay in there, but also how many monsters you can clear. Because unlike what we thought, this buff is not simply accumulated by being in the Scourge dimension. Yes, it slowly ticks up every second you get one stack, but I have 154 stacks. So whenever you slay a pack of Scourge mobs, it's gonna, bam, it's gonna be like 30 stacks. So the more monsters you slay in there, the more buff you get, the harder it gets, and the more quantity of loot and everything you get. Now, I haven't tested on like a really high juice map. The highest I've ever gotten the buff is 200, but maybe, I'm assuming if you put like Deli Orbs on it, you put Beyond on it, they would count as Scourge monsters in the Scourge dimension. So I believe that they would also give you multiplier, which means obviously it just gets, you know, pretty crazy. But at the very least, you can get up to 200 without any issues. We'll have to test some more stuff out here, but I think it's pretty interesting. Okay, so now this creates a scenario in which you need to clear the map, and you also need to stay in as long as possible to be able to get the most loot. Because of course, the last packs you kill are going to give you the most loot, they're going to give you the most corruption absorbed, and it's going to be the best. And corruption is going to be very, very important. Okay, so you need to be having a really zooming character, and you want to have a good layout. Okay, so I play the Scourge mechanic on a lot of layouts now, and I can tell you the open layouts are the best. Because it's very easy to understand where you've been, and it's very easy to like kind of track where the tile set is and kind of where you need to clear left. You know, stuff like if you do like what's a really bad map? Like a cells, you've got no hope in hell of stacking the buff up high, and you got no hope in hell of knowing where you shifted in and out and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a nightmare. But when you're in like a dunes, it's super duper easy to clear the whole map, especially if you've got an AoE character. It's super duper nice. Okay, oh boy, there's so much. We're not even to the tree yet. Okay, so the other thing that you're going to encounter there when you get into the Scourge dimension is going to be Scourge bosses. So I've encountered a total of 3 so far. I've encountered one of them, the Tentacle Dude, twice, and the Lightning Chick. No, I've encountered 4. I've encountered the Tentacle Guy twice and the Lightning Chick twice. Which is pretty interesting. One of those times was in my first Scourge map, which was a Scourge 5 map. That's worth noting there. Okay, so these bosses, basically, they're not too hard, but, you know, they're definitely going to do some damage to you. I almost get one shot sometimes with 4k. Having said that, I have like 150 stacks. But these, I think it's physical and lightning themed from what I can see so far. Those are my kind of guesses. And yeah, they're not too insane, but they definitely do pack a punch. So overall, these, you're gonna be able to smash them down. I was able to kill them on my clear speed character, so it shouldn't be any problem at all for a boss killer. But basically, what do they drop, and what's good about them? So when you go into the Scourge dimension and you discover one of these bosses, they don't have like an animation that they're waking up. But when they do wake up, they're going to freeze your Scourge gauge. So it's no longer going to go down as long as you're near them, and you have to fight the boss, which is pretty cool. So it's not gonna tick down. Okay, so when you kill the Scourge boss, it's going to give you a ton of Scourge items, and it's also going to give you a unique with double Scourge mods on it. So basically what I mean by double Scourge mods is, I actually think I have one still. It's a limb split. But yeah, it's going to guarantee, at least from what I can see so far, drop you a unique, at least one, with 2 Scourge modifiers on it. So you'll be able to see here, if I come over here, where is it? This limb split here. So it has 52 to 70 fire and 20 to 44 chaos damage, and it's Scourged 3. So you can see that this is a unique, it's pretty sweet, and this is one of the things that they drop. In addition to that, they also do drop a shitload of Scourge Currency. I have 6 fusings. Now, these fusings, I don't know if they're bugged, but my friend Elisha, he put a video, it's like a minute long. He shows, you get just 6 link corrupted items with these in like 3 fusings. It's crazy, dude. These are really, really strong right now. Maybe they get nerfed, I don't know. But they're actually like insanely strong. It's like so much that like these are worth like way more than like 2 or 3 C. They're like worth like 5 C. I put mine for 20 because I don't want to sell them. But these, it's fair to say these are completely insane. So very, very good. Of course, we don't really know much else about any other Scourge currencies yet. Fair to say if the fusings are that crazy, the others will be pretty crazy too. I got a mythic orb here. I mean, I don't know if it's good, but yeah, you get the currencies from them. It's pretty alright, and you also do get some other stuff from them, like a shitload of rare 1 mod Scourged items. I didn't pick them up, but I just picked up the uniques because I thought they were interesting to me. But yeah, they're pretty. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's kind of that. Let's move on to the Blood Crucible now, because I think I've covered a lot of what there is to cover in the actual maps. Okay, so we'll cover the Crucible first. So you can see I'm baking up a map. I'm going for a 10 right now. So the way the maps seem to operate is that when you Scourge it, it's going to get, obviously, a modifier on it. I'm pretty sure the first time you Scourge, sorry, it'll always get rare Scourge monsters drop X, which is pretty good. But as you continue to upgrade it, it's a chance to add or upgrade the modifiers on the map. So my first Scourge map I had drops 3 stacked decks and 2 fossils, and it was Scourge 5. But this one here is rare Scourge monsters drop 3 additional influence items. And it's Scourge 8 though, so I've just gotten unlucky with this one, and it doesn't have as many rewards on it as you'd hope. But, it is what it is. It's got, some other stuff on it. I'm going to check it out anyway. And then I'm also Scourging this one up here. It's not done yet. On average, I'd say it probably takes anywhere between 5 to 10 maps to do 1 level of Scourge. So I'd say you get about 10k Scourge points, with my character at least, per map. That's kind of my guess, my estimation right now. Having said that though, it's not with the passives. This is kind of like pre-passives. But yeah, Scourge maps are going to be the big fun thing to do. They're really, really, really rewarding. The first one I did, I got about 30 stacked decks and 20 fossils, and I was doing it on a strand because I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, on a strand, no density at all. Fair to say that there's no shortage of rare monsters in there, and if you full clear the map, you're going to get an absolute smorgasbord of loot, and of course, as I mentioned, there's stacks with Delirium. Don't know if the Delirium rares actually drop the loot yet, but if they do, that's actually just completely disgusting. But anyway, we'll get into testing that further and later on. Okay, so pretty good. What would I recommend Scourging? Again, open layouts, easy layouts, ones that you can full clear, and ones which have reasonable density on them. I think Dunes is a pretty good pick. So yeah, pretty nice. Okay, I think also, after you get to a certain Scourge level, you're guaranteed a boss, although I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the modifiers here. So I've gotten 2 different modifiers. First one was that you can, when you shift, it consumes less blood charge when you're shifting in, and that was a pretty interesting one. That's actually a beneficial one. But you can see this one here says, only shift into the Nightmare on reaching maximum blood. Blood is not lost over time. I have no idea. I have no idea what this means. But it also says lose 0.5% of blood on killing a Scourge monster. This is pretty interesting. So obviously, it's going to be shifting in and out, depending on how fast you're clearing. And I don't actually know if this is good or bad. We'll have to see how it goes. I don't know what this one is yet, but it's pretty interesting. Definitely a very, very, very min-maxable mechanic. I'm very interested to see how it's all going to play out, but there's a lot of potential here. Absolute lot of potential. So just to give you guys an example, just one mod that I'm talking about here is that, let's say you take the Nemesis Currency Sextant. Well, now you get the Nemesis Currency Sextant and you just double its value because you get 2 maps instead of 1. It's crazy. This is easily going to be one of the most rewarding mechanics ever because it's on the level of Delirium and it multiplies Delirium. Ridiculous. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about the items. So I haven't really found anything good to do with the Scourge item baking yet. I imagine that's probably going to come later when you actually want to go for the Scourge affixes on your gear. If I had to guess, I'd probably be baking up armors, like 6-socket armors, because then you can actually link them with the fusing orbs and you can sell them the linked, because it's really easy to link them with the fusing orbs. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'd probably be doing like Carcass Jacks, Kintsugis and stuff like that, and be trying to get like +1 gems and stuff like that on that for the TR guys. That's where I'd be going, in that kind of direction. With this, of course, you do have the skill tree here, which has some stuff. So this one here, Stitched Wounds, nowhere near as good as we thought it was going to be. So we were assuming that this would actually, they changed the wording on it now that I'm reading it. So basically the way this functions, if you have a 2-link 4-link, it's going to turn into a 5-link. But if you have a 5-link, it's going to turn it into a 6-link. So basically it's going to upgrade the linkages by 1 every single time it procs. At 15% chance, it's pretty reasonable. So if you shove a bunch of 5 links in here, you can get the effect we were talking about to make a bunch of 6 links. And that's probably the best other application if you're not cooking up any uniques. You can also do rings. That's probably a pretty good idea as well. Maybe like Essence Worm or something like that is pretty good. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's where it is at there. In terms of actually what I took, I don't think it's super relevant. It's day 1 and I almost have all the whole tree. Obviously it does slow down a lot. As I said, it's probably about 10k. You get about 1k per map. So I got like 50 maps to kind of get get the next level here. So it does start to quite slow down. You know, it's okay. You do get more Scourge juice as you get into higher tiers, from what I understand. And of course, the more monsters you slay and the more Scourge maps you're doing, the more juice you get. It's like kind of a never-ending cycle. So there is actually a few very interesting passives here, which I would recommend looking into. So the first one is maps. Definitely take the maps ones. The map stuff is the best. It's actually ridiculous. And if you're not cooking maps, you're doing it wrong. You need to be cooking up some maps. So yeah, 25% more corruption, absolute no-brainer. Okay, so the other thing here, which you want to be doing, is Warp Sluice. So Warp Sluice essentially says you get 5% more corruption on items. So it's a more multiplier, very important. More multipliers on top of more, a more multiplier for each time the map has been transformed. So if you're in a 10 transformation map, then you can get 50% more juice. Which is really good. That's a lot of extra juice. So basically what we're painting a picture of here is that you're going to be able to semi-sustain the maps. So overall, that's really strong. It's possible you can get to a place in which, you know, you're getting quite a lot of Scourging juice and you're going to be able to Scourge maps quite a lot. So maybe it's like every other map that you're doing a Scourge map. That could be where we get to. I don't know. Obviously, we have to see. If you're just doing Scourge 1, certainly I think that's reasonable. If you're trying to get a high level Scourge, maybe not. But yeah, pretty interesting. Actually, this makes me realize the next ones here are also pretty damn good and interesting as well. So, X% chance to raise the tier of an explicit modifier on equipment. Oh, it's equipment. Okay, hold on. This one here. 1% chance of transforming to grant an additional beneficial modifier. This doesn't say equipment. So, I think this also affects maps. So, a 5% chance to get another additional beneficial modifier. So, beneficial to me reads as the loot rewards. So, you have a 5% chance to gain an additional loot reward, which is pretty good. I mean, I think that's pretty good. Definitely pretty good and worth investing in that. But the main one you want to be getting is Dream Furnace. You want to get to this ASAP, man. This is going to double your Scourge map baking. So instead of having 1 map, you'd have 2. That's so OP. Basically, there's more Scourge maps for you. That's super good. In terms of everything else, it's pretty much just the fusing, the maps, and then later on, I'm sure some of this other stuff will become pretty relevant. But until then, I haven't figured it out. We'll have to see how it goes. But overall, it's a damn good league so far. It's super duper fun, but you're not going to have as much fun unless you're playing a clear speed character. That is the juice this league. That's going to be the fun. Haven't sketched any of my items yet because I'm too scared. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you learned something, like. If you enjoy the videos and you want more coverage, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.